Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boom Buzz channel, Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host Terry, and today, nah, hey, goodbye. I'm sure some people are singing it the other way, the Temptation style. Nah. Eberflus is out of here, as we said, or as I said yesterday, and probably the whole world. He wasn't gonna make it. The narratives were just too strong for him to overcome, and we are right back like clockwork on the same cycle as always. As I said, like, this is the third time. This is the third time that we're doing this, and since 2017, just back and forth. So we're on that familiar schedule again. Now, I will be curious, for me personally, I will be curious what they do with Ryan Poles, but for me personally, I would get rid of him too. Not rid, I don't want to use this harsh language, because make no mistake, all this is just punitive language. That's what our society was, that's what you've been socialized to believe in, punishments. So rewards and punishments. So as I said with Waldron, sometimes, everybody feels like somebody has to be punished. Someone has to pay for this. The heads are going to roll. All that stupid stuff you were taught. Sometimes it's just not a good fit. Things of that nature. Doesn't mean, like I said, Waldron, doesn't necessarily mean that you don't know any football or you're not good at anything. But sometimes it's not a fit. Sometimes it don't work out. And that's okay. I mean, Bill Belichick has 6, 7 Super Bowl, maybe 8 Super Bowl rings total, and he doesn't have a job right now. So sometimes things run their course. The great Andy Reid that everybody loves was ran out of Philly. Sometimes it runs its course, and I'm not comparing Eberflus to any of those people. I'm just saying that I'm not approaching this as a punitive thing, but everybody else is, and we'll talk about that. But Eberflus, as I said, I think in the off season, now I thought for sure that we were going to have a better season, just because I thought the ability of Caleb, and I thought the philosophy around Caleb would be a lot better. The defense has been what it's been, and so they've stayed on par, besides the injuries to Brisker and whatnot. But the offense, like I said, I had different thoughts about what they would do, how we play complementary football. That didn't work out, and then we lost some games that we shouldn't have lost, and we struggled on offense, a lot of it. But overall, as I mentioned, outside of that, it was going to be hard for Eberflus. It was going to be hard because everybody's going to hold that first year against him, even though they don't hold it against Poles. It's just weird to me. But it was a complete tank job. Said that from day one. And even though everybody wanted to argue, then we proceeded to go out there and tank, like I said. And so I don't care. That was a horrible roster. But going forward, Justin Fields not working out. You can hide behind that excuse of that's not our QB. So then you get Caleb. So it was all eyes on them. And it honestly doesn't matter what Eberflus did this year, in my opinion. Even if we made the playoffs, I mean, outside of like winning the Super Bowl, of course, but even if we made the playoffs, even if we won 10 games, didn't make playoffs, whatever, even if it looked good, the notion that you have to have essentially a glorified quarterback coach, a head coach, has just taken over the whole league. And thankfully, not every owner buys into that, but the fans do. I don't know if I've ever seen a fan that was like talking about a head coach prospect other than them being a play caller and a quarterback coach. That's the only thing people talk about. And I've talked about that before, and Bears are no different. We probably fall victim to that cycle like we did with Trubisky. So either way, who we get and all that, well, that's to be seen. Again, this is third time we did this, and every single time, oh, who do you want? Who do you think? Like, what do you think about it? I don't care. I mean, I'm gonna sit back, wait, and see how it unfolds. Especially with them doing this in the middle of the season, not middle, but in season. And so we got a long way to wait. We'll sit back and see how it unfolds, and then I'll react to it then. And I'm not. You know me. If you listen to this, when Eberflus was hired, when Nagy was hired, when we did all that, you know how I am. And this is why I don't sit here and jump to these narratives, because that's what's going to happen the first day. Every narrative in the world is going to get built. And that's all people operate off of. He worked with this person, or he saw this quarterback at practice, so he must really want to play like that, or he watched a game of Patrick Mahomes, so this would be a perfect fit. Like stupid stuff like that. So anyway, that'll come down the road. We'll get to that. As we sit here now, look, as I said yesterday, the narratives were going to be too strong. The mistake was too colossal, and people are going to go crazy. I'm not really too wrapped up in it, because that's always going to be like, that's what fans are always going to do. Fans and media are always going to look at the result only. They're only going to they're going to judge things in hindsight. It's always going to be like that. And so that's kind of whatever. And for the fans that like look into the actual football of it, we'll be able to have those real conversations. But for the other ones, they'll live and die by the box score and the stats, I guess. So for me, very similar to John Fox, almost eerily similar. I wouldn't say that. Okay, because John Fox, this is about the opposite of John Fox. John Fox came in, which is when people say, or whoever these commenters keep saying Eberflus is the worst coach. I'm like, how long have you been watching the Bears? You clearly don't know much about the Bears' history. But Fox took over when we had, I believe it was coming off of Tressman, but the team was so bad. The team, like the roster wasn't necessarily horrible, but just we were not coached well. And so I never forget the defensive coordinator. Was it Mel Tucker? Because he went to Bama. No, he went to Michigan State after that too. But anyway, Mel Tucker was our D coordinator, and I could not stand our defense. Our defense was so bad. And you think about it, we're coming off the years of Briggs and all that. So we got a defensive, we got a 4-3. We have no idea how to have gap integrity. Everybody's always in the wrong gap. We're trying to two gap in a even front. It was just, I hated everything about it. And it just looked like we had no idea what we were doing. We were coverage bust every time. Obviously, Jay Cutler was not somebody that took care of the ball, so you had to deal with that. But the run game was good, but we just, offensively, it just never seemed to click. Anyway, John Fox takes that team and over the course of a year completely rebuilds our professionalism with some of the players that were on the team, and then with the new players they brought in. I'm talking about, again, just simple stuff. Like, so if you want to point to Eberflus yesterday, or I would say the OC, head coach and quarterback. But if you look at that yesterday, like, that's simple football stuff that we can't have that. So after John Fox got us to a point where we were in the right gaps, we were using the right technique, we knew how to actually run a cover 3 versus a cover 2, like stuff like that. I was like, okay, he's rebuilt the standard, the professionalism here. And I want to say, like, right before he got fired or something like that, his average margin of defeat or whatever was like less than 3 points. And so I remember, like, I did want to move on for John Fox. And, you know, I just didn't like I guess this is darn near very similar to John Fox. I didn't like what they were allowing on offense. Like, that was crazy. That's when Trubisky was throwing like 3 times a game or something stupid like that. But anyway, his average margin of defeat was 3 points, less than 3 points. And as much as people were like, oh, we're losing and that, and again, you got to watch the game. Like, when people say a win is a win, I always say that's not true. And that's just a sign of, like, you don't really know the game. There's a difference in how you win and how you lose, and those are important. And we went from just like complete blowouts, unprofessional football, to a not very talented team, but a competitive team that actually knew how to play fundamental football. And so I'm like, hey, yeah, we're going to get rid of John Fox, but not for nothing. Like, the man completely turned around our standard, and we were competitive in games. And again, like I say, with actual, like, the offense, you get more possessions or you get first downs to extend the drives, you get more opportunities to eventually crack. Same thing with the run. If you run positive 2-3 yards every time, you give yourself more opportunities to eventually bust that explosive, that 20-yarder, that 30-yarder. And so it's the same thing to me. Again, how I was taught football, you put yourself in opportunities to compete and to win games, and eventually it starts to happen. I mean, it's no different than Detroit, which is kind of iffy, but Detroit, I don't know. I don't know that Dan Campbell had a close margin of victory like that. He might have, but they completely changed the Lions standard and competitive level. And then eventually, as you add talent, it takes years to install systems. As you add talent and you get continuity of the roster and the system, those start turning into wins. And so, again, not to say that that's guaranteed, but that's kind of the path of rebuilding the team. So very similarly to me, I think it should be pointed out. Again, I made the post in the community how there's a conversation about Kyle Shanahan, which, you know, for me, if you want to get rid of probably the top coach in the league, go for it. I mean, especially if he goes to the AFC or if he comes to us, but I'm all for that. If that's what the 49ers, now I don't think the 49ers are having that conversation, but the media and fans are. And it's like, if you could have that conversation about him, then I don't understand. I don't understand who's safe. Like I've said, when I hear some of these complaints about head coaches, I'm like, well, if that's the case, like 30 head coaches should be fired. And so that is what it is. I just wanted to recognize, like, a lot of people will look at like, oh, we got a field goal block. I'm like, bro, once again, everybody said we're going to get slaughtered by the division. We can't hang with, like, these are the 3 playoff teams. We're not as good as we thought. We can't hang with them. We very much could have beat all 3 of them. And I felt that way last year too. And we did beat, I don't know if we split. No, I think we lost to the Vikings twice. One of them might have been close, but we definitely beat the Lions. And so you could chalk that up to division familiarity. But I just think we had a team that definitely could compete. And so I just bring all that up because people act like there's an automatic bump, and it's not. It very much could be a 2 steps backwards. So I don't know if people just have short-term memories, but like I said, we saw this in this last little era of Eberflus, Nagy, and Fox, and Trestman before him, really. But we saw what it is like, and you can look around the league. It ain't no guarantee you're gonna go forward. You can very much go backwards. And for the longest said, I believe Eberflus wasn't going to be the head coach next year. Not what I would necessarily want, but early in the season, I said I don't see him surviving the narratives, and that's kind of where we are. I eventually got to the point where I'm like, yeah, I would like to move on from 2, but you know me, it's never during the season. So as we sit here today, that's fine. Everybody's happy he's fired, and I will do the same. I would make the same challenge I make every time, and it's never answered. What is the benefit? Everybody wants to act like it's a benefit, and I would just love to hear it. You have 3 essential, if you want to call it in the hierarchy, you have 3 leaders essentially: the D coordinator, the head coach, the offensive coordinator. 2 of those are now gone. The person that takes over as interim head coach was just a passing game coordinator. He was an assistant coach at the beginning of this season. And you telling me that's better? Now, I think a lot of people are probably like, hey, the season is over with. We ain't going to the playoffs. We should lose, whatever. Anyway, and again, I would ask you, well, if that's the case, how does this help? I don't understand. If we're not going to the playoffs, how does this help? What tangible result comes from doing this right now? I challenge people, and I would love to hear an answer that makes sense, because I haven't heard one yet. And it's been a long time I've been seeing coaches get fired. Because if you don't know my motto, I'll repeat it for you. There's no benefit to firing a coach in season unless he does something, illegal, crazy off the field, or it's a toxic locker room. There's no proof of either of those. Obviously, we know there's nothing like that. So I just don't see the benefit of it. You are now down a lot of manpower, a lot of brain power, and you got somebody trying to be head coach that is really not a head coach at all. And so that's fine. Again, if you feel like, hey, we got to move on from Eberflus and we got to, whatever your reasoning, that's fine. But to say that it had to be right now, it boils down to nothing but making a move to make a move. As I've said many times, and has been proven, we got insiders, former players, all types of people, former coaches, especially Bill Belichick talks so much, where you hear a lot of them say, yeah, owners will make moves just to say they made a move and try to get the fans to keep buying tickets. And it wasn't until this year that I really wrapped my head around that, because I know the big money is in the TV deals and the shared revenue, but I guess the ticket sales and all that matter enough to the owners too, to where, yeah, they will say and do things just to get fans to believe. Because I used to always hear about Jerry Jones, and I was like, what does it benefit Jerry Jones to lie to fans about going like being Super Bowl bound or aiming for a Super Bowl if you don't win it? I don't understand. But now I get it. Like, yeah, you trying to keep people coming up, showing up, buying tickets and all that good stuff, buying merch and getting that money that goes straight to the owner, not just the TV deal money. So you do have owners that feel like, hey, we gotta do something. We gotta give a pound of flesh. Essentially, all it is we gotta give a pound of flesh to appease the fans. And it's no different. And I'll never stop talking about this. Juan Castillo, the O-line coach. The fans went crazy telling me how wrong I was, that Ron Castillo was going to change it all. And so, again, doing things just to do. Is it always something that's necessary? At the head coach level, rarely. Coordinators, sometimes, but it's just things people do to try to appease the fans and make it seem like they're actually doing something. So that's what happened to good old Eberflus. Again, we are in a society that feels like, oh, well, we got to punish people. We got to punish somebody. And that's just all all the fans know. So Eberflus is gone, and we're back in the site. Oh, I did not know this Chiefs game was on. Oh no, I done missed my bets and everything. I'm sorry, I just realized the Chiefs game on. This is tragic. But yeah, so Eberflus is gone, and I don't know the rest of our schedule offhand. I know we got to play the division again, but I mean, it's safe to say that we're kind of punting on this season. So we'll see. We'll continue to see what Caleb does and how he looks. I don't expect a ton to change, really, to be honest with you. He's just not seeing the field well, at least not quickly. But this isn't not Travis Kelce. I'm sorry, I'm watching the Chiefs now. This isn't Mitch Trubisky. It's not Justin Fields level. As we see, he has a little more in his tool bag than those two. But yeah, he's just not seeing the field and reading it quickly. And again, he's a rookie. As I said, so many times before, you just gotta go through. I don't know why everybody expects things to happen right away. I like, we didn't see it anywhere else. We even see Mahomes having one of the worst years he's had. Mahomes. And so I just don't understand this thought process that, like, this not Madden. Like, I don't know if people don't realize that, but you don't have development points. You don't have skill points. You don't play a game and then go level up. That's not how a football works. So Caleb's not going to be a different quarterback. And I know you hear broadcasters, you hear media say, oh, he looks like completely different. No, he is not. You get to the film and it's the same stuff. And I ain't saying he hasn't improved in anything, but he's not going to be a totally different quarterback. Those core traits of a quarterback will never change in terms of like what makes up a quarterback at his foundation. And if you look at those core traits, he's been the same guy all year. And so he'll continue to get reps, he'll continue to get muscle memory, and he'll continue to get film, and he'll continue to grow and work. And we'll look at the nuances that improve throughout the year. But it's safe to say that's really the only conversation now. And it's sad. It's honestly sad because, and I don't know if I mentioned this in the offseason, but I never wanted to be one of these teams, man. And there's a few teams in the league that aren't like this, but I never wanted to be one of these teams hanging everything on first round or first overall pick, whatever, quarterback, young quarterback. And I get it. The money and the salary cap tells you don't have to, but we want to win now. We want to win while he's young and cheap so we can still afford the rest of our roster. I get that. I get that the quarterback position, not only because of the salary cap, but because the impact they have on the game, which I think this year people a little more having their eyes opened up again. This isn't a passing league. Run game is actually super important, but because of the impact that the quarterback can have, I get that people want to really focus their effort on developing the quarterback. Now, at the same time, ironically, quarterbacks are getting thrown away at a faster rate than ever. But still, for the most part, you got those top 5 picks. A lot of resources go into it. They want to develop them. And I'm not saying Caleb shouldn't get development, but I hate that you have so many teams that feel like everything we do has to be built around the quarterback. Like almost kind of like an Aaron Rodgers situation. And I'm not an Aaron Rodgers hater, but kind of like that situation in New York. And it didn't work out. I'm not saying because of that. But look, he's a vet. That's different. If we had shoot, most of the vets is gone. But if we had Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar come in, then hey, I could understand that. But even if you look at those teams, actually maybe outside of Lamar, but if you look at those teams and the teams that win, they did not do everything for the quarterback. It wasn't like, hey, we're gonna craft our entire team around this quarterback. That's not what a lot of these good teams do. Good teams usually have really good rosters. And you think about the Eagles, who they built through the O-line, D-line forever, since back when Andy Reid was there. Every year they're drafting O-line, D-line. And yes, they got Hurts in the later rounds, but I have to believe that that's a type of philosophy, a team that would not have swayed away just because they had a young quarterback. Again, you look at the Chiefs and how they built over these years. And of course, Mahomes got to sit for a year. But, it's just, to me, there's this class of teams who are all in on this young quarterback thing. And I just never wanted to be that team. I never wanted to sit here and be like, okay, this head coach, like, how does Caleb feel about that? How does that job, who does he know that Caleb knows? How does he feel? What does Caleb feel like? What does he think about Caleb's film? Like, I never wanted to be that team. Oh, we got to get this guy because he knew USC and he knew Caleb when he was here. Oh, the defensive coordinator is friends with Caleb's cousin's uncle, sister. Like, I don't want to be that team because that team doesn't win. And again, I understand that for the rest of the season going forward, the focal point is Caleb. But I would love, and this is why I want a new GM and a new philosophy. I would love to get to the point where we're a team that's about amassing good football players and not really about trying to be a quarterback camp. So that's kind of how I feel. But yeah, anyway, that's it for me. Everybody got their wish. Eberflus is gone. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe. Remember, stay up and bear down.